We're even going to talk to Houston while we're at it, Raj. We're going to Houston to talk to another good buddy, Randy McIlvoy from KPRC down in Houston is going to join us to talk a little Rockets and Astros. And, maybe we'll even throw in a Southland Media Day plug while we're in there. Randy, good afternoon, my friend. How the heck are you?
Patrick, how you doing? I'm honored to be on the program today.
Well, you should be. Let's be honest. That's a.
I know. You got to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I got to be honest with you. You really should be honored to be here. So let's talk, man. This is obviously the big news. It broke during the middle of the Independence Bowl kickoff dinner, and I was the MC, and I almost, after I read it, I almost broke into the proceedings and gave the breaking news about Russell Westbrook being traded to the Rockets. Give me some indication of what this means. What do we expect? Obviously, these guys are, Harden and Westbrook are good friends. They claim they can share the ball. What are we expecting to see out of this new companionship between old buddies Westbrook and Harden?
Yeah, it was a crazy day. I was in Arlington with the Astros and Rangers. I just finished my live shot, was about to eat dinner, and it broke, so that changed my night. You know what? I think that the jury's out to a certain extent because you got to see what version of Russell Westbrook's going to show up here in Houston. Now, they are boys. They go back. They played, 3 years together in OKC.
Right.
They go back to when they were like 10 or 11 years old. So we'll see how much weight that carries, the relationship history they have. It wasn't the same as what, it's much different than what Harden had with Chris Paul, and that didn't work out. So I think the key is going to be actually two things. What version of Westbrook we will see when he gets here? Will he be a guy that's willing to not be the number one guy, that's not going to want the ball all the time? How often they're on the floor together will also be to be determined. I think 1A in that situation, Patrick, I think, man, honestly, a lot of pressure now is on Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah.
Because not only is he coming into this season, with his current situation, which is the final year of his contract, his task is by Daryl Morey is to say, all right, here you go, make it work. It's your problem now. Figure it out, make it work, get this offense going, and whatever it takes to make this situation go in a positive direction. So that's a lot of pressure for a coach that's in the last year of his deal, has basically inherited a new assistant coaching staff that wasn't his choice. So there's a few dynamics in this move, but I personally think going in, it's got a good chance to work. I think it's going to hurt them a little defensively, though. Well,
it's a bold move, if nothing else, and it feels like if you're going to get the Warriors, this would be the year to get the Warriors. Durant's gone, would have been gone anyway. Clay's not going to be back until probably mid-season at best, and that's if his rehab goes perfectly. It feels like if you're going to get the West, Anthony Davis and LeBron are kind of new with each other. They don't know each other. At least Russ and Harden have a history together, even though they're both different players from where they were. But it kind of feels like if you were going to strike, this might be the season to get it.
No, you're right. I do think they're still technically going to be behind the Lakers and probably the Clippers. That's just my opinion. But, if they stay healthy, I think they're going to be tough to beat out in the West. But they're definitely – you look at the West, you're going to be a top 3 team in the West, maybe top 4 team in the West. Utah is going to be sneaky good with the moves they've made as well. So I think, they're kind of an X factor in the West as well. And you got a young Denver team. So, the West is stacked, man. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I saw the new numbers come out of Vegas, the over-under on wins. They've got the Rockets at 51, which to me is a little bit low.
Feels low, yeah.
I think they can top that. If you're a betting man, I would go over on that. But I think the West is going to be balanced. It's going to be some good basketball coming up for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. And honestly, you mentioned D'Antoni, Randy, and it feels like this is kind of a perfect guy for D'Antoni because he is very much a let's surround a good guard that can penetrate and get to the rack, but still likes to pass with a whole bunch of shooters, and that's what you got. You got 2 of the best guards at getting to the rim, both of whom love to pass and don't mind getting assist numbers. And you've got, you surround them with a bunch of shooters, then you mix in a couple of bigs for some reboundings, like a Capella type guy, maybe an Iguodala X Factor type. It feels like this is the kind of team that D'Antoni could really work with.
Yeah, I'm anxious to talk to Mike when he gets back into town. He hasn't commented yet on this move, but you would think from the offensive mind that he is and what he puts together, I mean, this is right in his wheelhouse. I think he's going to like the options he has. I don't know if they'll add any more pieces. I think what we're seeing now, they were able to keep Gordon and P.J. Tucker and, of course, Capella for now, unless Morey's got something up his sleeve that we don't know about. But I think the key is going to be, too, you're going to have one of these guys. I think you're not going to see Harden and Westbrook, I don't think, on the floor together a lot. I think they'll spell each other. You'll see some out there, but one of the guys is going to have to be off ball a little bit more than they're accustomed to. So that's going to be another, transition part to be able to make that work off ball a little bit more. But yeah, it opens the door for options. Look, maybe Westbrook will get a few more like open look threes instead of having to work a little bit harder for him that he was accustomed to in Oklahoma City. So I think the potential is definitely there. Can the egos coexist? They are friends, but it is what it is. These are two former MVPs that want the rock out there, man, and they want to shoot the basketball. Can they coexist? But apparently Harden, this is the guy he wanted, and he got his wish. So another superstar paired with Harden. It hadn't worked yet. Dwight Howard, Chris Paul. Will it work for Westbrook?
Well, it's funny because Randy, both Chris Paul and Dwight Howard and now Russell Westbrook have I don't want to say attitude problems. That's not quite the right way to phrase it, but they do all have some attitude issues. We've seen it from Dwight Howard before. We've seen it from Russell Westbrook before. We obviously seen it from Chris Paul. It almost feels like this is another sort of mercurial guy that they're pairing with Harden, who himself is a mercurial guy. Oh,
absolutely, no doubt. But that's all the things that are going to be floating out there between now and the fall when they get going is and we won't know until they start. That's the deal, and we can all speculate. And I'm going into it thinking, okay, we got a chance to make this thing work a little bit. Now, big picture in the West, as I mentioned, I still think they're behind. I think the Lakers and Clippers shored up, and they're going to be making a run. But it's going to be fun to watch. And I don't know about you, Patrick, but I'm looking forward to the outfits we'll see every night.
Yeah.
Between Harden and Westbrook.
There's definitely going to be
a classic with those guys.
Yeah, definitely be some of that. Now, here's what I want, Randy. I want in game one, I want both these guys to have, let's say, 25 points, 12 rebounds, and both sitting on 9 assists in the last 2 minutes of the game. And I want to watch both of them continue to not shoot the ball because they're trying to get their triple-double.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's going to want it more, huh?
Right. Like, oh, no, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. No, you're open. No, you're open. Like,
I be the nice guy.
I just want that scenario just for fun one night when they're both trying to get to that triple-double number.
I bet we'll get it. I bet we'll get to see that quite a bit.
No doubt about it. Talking to Randy McIlvoy, KPRC down in Houston. And, Randy, look, second half of the baseball season has begun, and I mentioned it. Because I'm a brilliant sports talk host, I said, hey, it would be nice if Jose Altuve could get going in the second half. He's kind of one of the linchpins because, again, I'm the only one who's had that thought. I'm brilliant like that.
I mean, you probably texted that to him, too.
Yeah, probably.
No problem, Mr. Netherton.
Yeah, he said, yeah, sure. Exactly what happened. But Randy, it's obvious Jose Altuve is a guy that they need to get going. He started strong, 320 since he's gotten back. He had the grand slam last night. It feels like that the Astros are winning despite their injuries, but now they're starting to get guys healthy and rolling again. This feels like a team that's starting to round into form with maybe 1 or 2 additions needed before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail there. They're fine talent-wise. They're coming back. They're getting healthy. Slow, Springer's back now. He had missed some time with that hamstring. Right now, they're missing Carlos Correa and Aledmus Diaz to a point. Diaz had been a nice pop off the bench as well. But Carlos, they get the shortstop back. Then they put Bregman back at third. And it's like A.J. Hinch told me the other day in Arlington. He said, man, I just want my shortstop back. That's what I want. I want my shortstop back. So he's going on a rehab in AAA Round Rock starting, I believe, tonight. Correa is, and he's coming back from that cracked rib from that massage you got. That's another story. But
yeah. By the way, have we gotten down to the bottom of that thing yet? Have we figured out was he being massaged by a sumo wrestler? Like, what was going on there? Have we figured this out?
We're trying to figure out. He just said one of those rare things. He got the massages. It just heard something pop, and sidestep
look, I
the
don't
rest
know.
of the way.
I don't know
He's
what
talked
kind.
very little. So
I don't
he's
know
only
what
talked
kind
like
of
one time since
massages
he's
this
been back.
guy is getting, but man, if I left with a cracked rib, I would sue that person, whoever that masseuse was, and B, I'd certainly get him discredited, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, he's changed, but that masseuse is no longer in the picture. By the way, he has
You
changed
think?
masseuses, but he's coming back. He's been rehabbing really good recent weeks, so he gets to do the rehab stint in AAA. So does Diaz. So they're coming back. But to your point, the lineup is solid, man. They're good off the bench as well. I think the only area they need to shore up on is probably adding one more arm in the starting rotation. Bullpen's fine. Middle relief, closer, everything's in good shape there. It's just that one more arm in the rotation I think people would like to see. People believe that Jeff Luhnow is going to get done by now on the deadline. I believe it's July 31st. So a couple options out there, and we'll see how it plays out. But they definitely need one more arm. You've got, that back end number 4 and 5 is, not lights out right now like they want it.
Did you at any point think that they would go and get Keuchel back?
Very briefly, I thought there was this outside chance, and then I'd seen Dallas a little bit in the off season because he, for most of his off season while waiting, in the early spring when people were trying to report to camp, he was training here in Houston over at Rice University, and so I bumped into him. Matter of fact, I bumped into him today that I was out catching up with Carlos Correa at Rice. Carlos was out there training as well, but. I thought for a second, from talking with him that he would leave that door open, but he also was being, honest. He said, man, as much as I would probably like it, it'd be great. He said, it's just not feasible from where I am currently in my point of my career with the contract. They can't pay what I think I can get.
Right.
And it turned out the wait was a lot longer, and who knows if he's going to stay in Atlanta or not. But, so very briefly, I thought there was a chance. I would have loved for him to come back, but the odds of that happening were about slim and none, and sure enough, it didn't work out, and you had to wait till right after June.
Well, maybe they can go get Charlie Morton. Oh man,
good to get him back. What is he, 11-2 now?
Yeah, he got the lowest ERA in the league. I mean,
I feel another guy that didn't want to leave Houston either.
Yeah,
but again, he was
just couldn't pay
contract.
him.
He knew he could make more money, and just But boy, what a job he's doing with them.
Oh, unbelievable! And basically, I don't want to. It certainly wasn't all on him, but he won you the World Series as much as anybody did.
Oh, yeah, man. People love him here just for what he did in that Game 7.
Yeah.
He'll always be remembered for that. But,
by the way,
really good guy, too.
How cool was that moment with Brantley in Cleveland at the All-Star game?
That was cool. Man, you could really tell and you heard before the game, like, how revered he was in that town. And sure enough, man, you didn't take long to see it. The response they gave him, you could tell it was kind of a touching moment for him, too. He appreciated kind of the feedback he got from the fans and the reaction. I thought the best part was during introductions, when you heard it, and then when he got that, was it a double he had early in the game as well. But definitely during introductions, man, that place was rocking, man, when he was announced. So it tells you what he did for them, and man, just a steady guy, a team first guy. He's been as advertised since the Astros signed him. Doesn't talk a lot. He's not a big media guy, but he's a nice guy, and but boy, I tell you what, I love watching him hit, man. He's pure in that box, man, what he's hitting. I love the way he swings the bat.
Well, and a lot of people call him just a professional hitter, which is what he is. And I loved when they had. It was funny to watch sort of the juxtaposition of him versus Bregman and Springer when they were all mic'd up for the All-Star game. Anytime Buck went to Bregman or Springer, they were kind of joking and laughing or whatever. Right. And they went to Brantley, and he was giving heartfelt replies like he was sitting in the media room after a game.
Exactly. That's Brantley, man. And, of course, you got the opposite of a guy like Alex Bregman.
Yeah.
Who eats that stuff up. But I tell you what, this is a great team to cover, full of good guys in that clubhouse. They like each other. As you can tell, it's been that way since A.J. Hinch got here. And they firmly believe that they're hands down the most talented team, and definitely the AL West, and they feel like they're the best in the American League too. But it's going to be maybe a three-team race, I think, out of the AL. Yankees, of course, are loaded up, and they've got 59 wins already too. So it's going to be a great end of the season. They got they got about 68 games left, I think. after going in tonight. So it's the final stretch here and see what they can do to close it out and get ready for October.
Last thing, do you have a feeling on what starter they may try to go get?
I really don't. You've heard Syndergaard's name a little bit, and don't blame the guy, Giants guy, Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, Bumgarner.
You've heard his name's been out there a little bit as well. Those two, and the Toronto Blue Jays guy, the right-hander. Don't blank, man. Not a good day today.
Blue
Jays.
You could say it was Smith or Jones. I would know.
Boston or Tampa's also going to be in the market for pitching too. So the Astros will have some company going after these guys if that works out. But I do think that Luno's going to go get another arm. He's usually pretty aggressive. Jim Crane, the owner, is not afraid to spend. So I don't think that'll hold them back. They know what they've got in this team. It's a World Series team again, and they don't want to blow an opportunity.
Well, the good news is no one can hit a home run into a body of water out of Minute Maid Park, so no one can tell Bumgarner to go fish it out of the ocean if they hit it off of it.
That's true.
That's
true.
At least you have that going. Hey, Randy, last thing, your Southland Media Days. Are you handling Southland Media Days this year?
I will. I will be there. Yes, it starts bright and early on Thursday morning, and I saw the kind of the layout today as far as the order of teams. So be good. I always enjoy the event because I haven't seen some of these coaches in a handful of months. So it's good to kind of catch up with these guys, as I know you enjoy as well. And Southland's always an interesting race. You had a couple of surprise teams last year that made progress. You had a team like Sam Houston State take a little dip for the first time in a while. So it'll be curious to see how they respond. So a lot of good storylines going into the Southland, and you've seen it just like I have, man. It's a really good, solid conference, man. The talent base, I think, is growing year by year. A lot of these programs are getting, transfers from other programs, FBS programs, and that are bolstering their rosters a little bit. So I think the talent base is definitely increasing quickly.
Absolutely. And by the way, you can catch all of that on ESPN3. On the streaming platform. You can watch all of the Southland Conference Media Days, and Randy will be in the group that's covering it. Brother, thank you so much for your time today.
Anytime, man.
That's the best in the business down in Houston, Randy McIlvoy. Be good.